All right, let's go ahead and call this Pompano Beach CRA meeting to order, July 15th, 2025 at 1 o'clock. If I could ask everyone to please silence your cell phone or put them on vibrate so we don't get disrupted during the meeting. So please check your cell phones, make sure they're on silent mode. Let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik.
Here.
Commissioner Perkins.
Here.
Commissioner Segerson Eaton.
Here.
Commissioner Smith. Vice Mayor Fournier.
Here.
Mayor Harton.
Here, thank you. Can we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Can I get a motion approving the CRA board meeting minutes of June 17th, 2025?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Are there any changes to our agenda today, Mr. Tran?
There are no changes, Chair.
Very good. Can I get a motion approving the agenda as printed?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. That takes us up to an audience to be heard. Do we have anyone signed up for audience to be heard today?
Mayor, I have two speakers.
Very good.
First speaker is Lucille. I don't have a last name, but Lucille is what I see here, followed by Ed Phillips.
Very good. Please come forward. Just name and address for the record. Limit your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you.
My name is Lucille, and I live in Pompano, near Markham Elementary. My concern is the illegal dumping that's being demonstrated across the way from my front door. I can look and I can see, or if I come home from work, I see a whole new pile. Now, I really can't say it's not my concern, because it is, because I have children that goes to school next door. What's being dumped could be hazardous for me and for the children that come outside and play. They come outside and play right next door to the school. I was able to get pictures of who the people were, and I got the tag, I got the truck information, but the problem is the guy come knocking up. This is last week, but they've been dumping over a series of years. So last Friday it happened. Well, it didn't happen Friday, but I got information. Then I'm going to have the school give me their information. I put in for records to get a copy of and they're working with me to get it, but it takes time. But my issue is, I don't care who lives next door or who's in the building next door or who working down next door. They don't have a right to come bring their trash that they have. We have policies where they can dump it, where they can pay for it to be dumped. They don't have a right to come bring it in the northwest side in my yard across from me. I can't open up my window. I can't have guests. I can't have company to see trash across in my neighborhood. It's not fair. I called my commissioner. She gave me instructions of what to do, who to get in contact with. My neighbor, he sits there every day. I'm in the bed. He wakes me up and say, oh, by the time they come out 15 loads, unload 15 loads, he called me for the last load. I have to go to work. I have to worry about all these things and coming home to see what's outside my door when I wake up in the morning, whenever it's done through the evening. You're tired. You come home, you go to rest. BSO checked into it. I want to know what are the results. I have the school is going to give me their information. When they make the copies, they're going to let me know from their tapes, what do they see. I have pictures from what I have from the trucks that are dumping. I need to know, I need to get results. I need to hold somebody accountable for constantly dumping in my neighborhood, dumping trash, dumping hazardous waste or whatever it is, and it's gonna affect the children. Children come outside and play. I can't come outside and sit outside in my yard or whatever, because I don't know what's dumped across the way. Can't say it's not my business. It's wrong. And I want results, and I want to hold somebody accountable, and I need to speak with somebody, whoever came out from BSO, let me know what you come up with.
Absolutely. Thank you, ma'am. If I could ask you also, Mario, can you raise your hand back there? If I can ask you, ma'am, to go back and speak with Mario. He's our code enforcement supervisor. Can he get engaged on this matter also?
Well, what he did was, he told my neighbor that he went down and spoke with the company where I got the pictures from. And they told him all they can do is come out and spread it out. Who needs for them to come out and spread it out? I need for them to stop dumping it, because it's not fair. You don't make my area your dumping ground and then come up with a reason that, oh, you're gonna spread it out. No, you're gonna pick it up. You need to be fined, and you need to stop coming in my neighborhood dumping. And I need results from the city, because I've had a lot of issues before with all this stuff happening before these buildings got down here. No one reached out and helped. I did tell my commissioner, but commissioner can only do so much when she gives us a protocol of who are other people to make contact with. And I don't get results from the city. I get results from my commissioner, but I don't get results from the city and who all the other people that are held accountable. I got a zoning person with a job.
Very good, ma'am.
He tells them to mow it down.
I'm going to
That's
follow.
not the result.
I'm going to follow up with staff with an email, find out what is going on.
Mayor, I have an update for you.
I've got Mr. Tran?
Yes. So we were made aware of this from her neighbor to the south. This is what we call the Coral Highlands. It's all landlocked back there, just on the north side of Markham. So we've been working back there quite a bit. It's been dumping for years. One of those lots we acquired, we did clean it up. This was a recent dumping. It looked like it was fill from some site nearby. I was made aware of that probably about a month and a half ago. So BSO is involved, code enforcement's involved. They did catch the company that was doing the dumping, and they will clean it up. That is what the company said. If they do not clean it up, then we'll go into further action of.
Okay. Do we have a time frame on that?
Mario, if you can.
Good afternoon, Mario Sotolongo, Code Compliance Department. The cleanup will start tomorrow.
Starting tomorrow. Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, did you invite? No. Oh, Commissioner Perkins.
Okay, yes, Mario answered my question. I thought it was more of a BSO problem more so than code, but I guess between code and BSO, you all could work it together, but if it starts tomorrow, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Very good. Next speaker.
Ed Phillips.
Mayor, Commissioners, City staff, my name is Ed Phillips. I currently reside at 384 Northwest 19th Street, Pompano Beach. Mayor, and let me know if I may be treading in some murky waters here. What happens is, I came to ask the question or even give a thought as to the upcoming innovation zone that we're looking at. And my thought here is that there are those of us, myself included, for the last 20 plus years, we've been working towards having that area developed in some shape, form, or manner, with the position or the thought that it would be creating job opportunities for folks who actually live in the area. As you guys begin to posture and bring about additional questions and concerns, I am beginning to get a little bit concerned as to wondering if all of you understand the gravity of the opportunities that are presenting themselves for folks who live here. As you proceed, I am wondering what's the objective? Is the objective is to eradicate all that has been done over the last 20 plus years, or to come up with another position or idea of how to achieve this? I am not certain, based on what I am seeing and hearing here, what is going on. We talk about savings, and my math sometimes may be a little off, but I've heard some savings. If that's an inhibitor to keep us from going forward, then that should be displaced, that inhibitor. So once again, Mayor, I follow this. Sometimes I get weary of where things are going. I think that time is money, and you guys have spent an awful lot of time wasting time. If we're going to kill this, then kill it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to say to this neighborhood, this community, that you're not visionaries about tomorrow, because that's what you are. History will say what you've done and what you have accomplished. Yea or nay, up or down. And when you move forward, should you move forward, keep in mind that this community is changing rapidly. Opportunity must happen. It must prevail itself for a lot of folks who stay here to still be here tomorrow. Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
That concludes audience to be heard.
Very good, thank you for that. That takes us up to our presentation. First presentation on the facade and business site improvement programs for the East and Northwest CRA districts. Turn it over to Ms. Vasquez. Okay.
Yes, good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, board members, Kimberly Vasquez, CRA Project Manager. At the last meeting, you had requested that we come back and just go over the parameters, the criteria, and the eligibility of the facade and business site improvement program. So I'm just going to go through the program as it is today. Sorry about that. The program and the purpose and the uses. The Facade and Business Site Improvement Program encourages commercial business owners and/or property owners to enhance the existing business sites through exterior improvements. That's really the intent of the program. They're on a reimbursement basis, and eligible improvements include aesthetic improvements such as exterior painting, awnings, installation of a patio deck for outdoor dining, new windows, doors, signage, adjoining parking lots, sidewalks, landscaping, and security cameras as standalones do not qualify under this program but can be part of the overall improvement to the property. It encourages we encourage property or business owners to contact us as CRA staff first and prior to proceeding on any improvements. The criteria we consider under this when reviewing the apps is it has to be a commercial structure with commercial use, retail, or restaurant, meet the goals and objective of our plans, and this is for both of them, not just both the East and the Northwest. The visual impact it has in the area, the likelihood of completion, the amount of the private resources, will it create new jobs, attract new businesses, customers, and residents to the locations, the need for the project based on the property's condition and location, and the beneficial impact the completion of the project will have on the area, and what the applicant's relationship is to the property. Do they own it, or are they a business coming in? And if they have code liens or fines, they're not applicable. Office buildings and nonprofits, we do not consider those as part of this program, and they're ineligible. The way that the program works is approved applicants receive reimbursement for 80% of the eligible improvements. In the East, it's up to $20,000, and for the Northwest, it's $50,000. And it's $200,000 for a contiguous parcel, in other words, a strip shopping center. The total project cost, I just outlined it for you there. To receive the maximum amount, you would have to spend $25,000 or more for the improvement, and then they would be eligible for $20,000 in CRA contribution, and then the applicant would have to contribute $5,000. And then in the Northwest, it's $62,500. Our CRA contribution would be $50,000, and the applicant would have to apply $12,500 to that. We do have priority areas, and this is to make the most visual impact to the area. And in the East, it's Atlantic, Federal, and Ocean Boulevard. And in the Northwest, it's MLK Boulevard from Power Line to Dixie, the Old Town Commercial Area, Dixie Highway between Southwest 2nd to Copans Road, and then the north side of Southwest 2nd Street and along Cypress, there's a little strip shopping center that would be included. The process, which I believe we were asked for, is we encourage them once again to come in and meet with us as staff first. Then we fully vet, make sure the criteria they're putting forward is eligible under the program. We vet them and make sure that the applications are complete. Then they go to the advisory committees where they review and make a recommendation to this board. Then it comes in its final format to you as the application as well as the agreement. And within the agreement, the term of the agreement is 24 months, and the work should be completed in accordance with the scope of work that's attached to the application. We do consider minor deviations from what's presented. It could be a paint color, but it has to be minor in nature. If it's major, then it has to go back through an application process. Permits have to be issued within 6 months. They must be under construction within 12 months and fully completed 60 months prior to the end of the term of the agreement. There is a restrictive period on the property itself. In other words, we don't want to improve the property and then have them turn, flip, and sell it. So we have a 2-year restrictive period for that. And then upon completion, they will submit over to, we do a site inspection. They have to submit paid invoices, receipts, canceled checks, any wire transactions for this project. The programs were last brought to you in 2023 and amended at that time for both the east and the northwest. Currently to date, I will say there's been 51 facades done in the east, but this is incorporating storefronts, and it could be a strip shopping center, and then 20 in the northwest. That completes my presentation, and I'll open it for discussion by the board.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Discussion by the board. Anyone? Questions? Vice Mayor?
I guess I have a question. I'm surprised at the numbers you just gave at the end with the number of businesses who have taken advantage of this program in the Northwest relative to the East. I guess the East numbers don't surprise me, but the Northwest is big. And we have the target areas, but it's not confined to the target areas, right? Anyone could apply for these, and we've only done 20 of these over how long of a period in the Northwest?
The programs were first brought on and introduced in 2009, dating back to, I believe they really started in 2012 is when these improvements started. Of course, you know, we budget for them every year. We encourage any business to come and apply. Like I said, we do have the priority areas to make the most visual impact, but that doesn't eliminate anyone outside of that target area from applying. We just consider the priority areas first, if, you know, based upon funding availability.
So we've done 20 successfully in the Northwest. Do you have any idea how many applicants have come in, and have we turned some down because they're not in the target areas? You know, the Northwest CRA is what, 3,084 acres? It's huge.
Right.
So to only have done 20 since 2012 in 13 years seems low, especially given it's a much bigger incentive here. So the match is, or you get, you know, a lot more than you do in the East.
We just increased the incentive amount for the Northwest back in 2023 because in vetting it through the advisory committee, they felt like that 20,000 wasn't quite enough to do the improvements. In the East, I think the reason you're seeing it higher is because you have a lot more strip shopping centers. And when I'm saying 51, it's per storefront. It's not, so it could be a contiguous parcel, but it was 20,000 per storefront. In the Northwest, you have less of that type of property uses.
It's certainly less density of that. Like the East has shopping centers next to shopping centers, but the Northwest is such a big area. I'm actually a little disappointed to hear that's all we've done, because we do have people from the community coming in all the time talking about the look of the neighborhoods and the communities. So if there is an opportunity that we're missing here, I think we should figure out how to get this money more dispersed throughout the Northwest CRA to improve the look of businesses up and down all of the corridors.
I will say at this point in time, we do have a full-time project coordinator. That's part of what he's doing, is going out in the field, reaching out to these businesses. We do have a monthly newsletter that goes out to the targeted East and Northwest businesses, and we always incorporate that information as part of that newsletter as well.
Have we spent any effort on social media on that, given?
I believe we have. I think we've put it out on social media a couple times.
Okay. I mean, those are my thoughts here. So I'd like to hear what anyone else, their reactions to the presentation are. But if there's some way we could encourage this to be used more broadly in the Northwest CRA to improve the look of, standalone buildings or strip malls, I think that would help uplift everybody in that area. Thank you.
Very good. Further discussion? Commissioner Fessick.
Thank you. I was just wondering, so if a business is interested in taking advantage of this, when you say reach out to the staff, is there an online form that they can fill out on the website that they can, put in all that information so there's a record of how many people have applied, or do we just pick up the phone and call?
They are all listed on our website. They can download the applications and fill them out and email them back to us. We do have the staff member who's responsible for moving these forward as part of that information, so it is available on our website.
Okay, and you mentioned the newsletter. How many people do you have currently on that newsletter that goes out to in the community?
I would have to refer to Evan. Evan, how many people do we have on the newsletter
Roughly.
currently?
Would you say it's under 1,000 or over 1,000, under 5,000, over 5,000, kind of a ballpark in there? Okay. I'd just be interested in finding that out if you wouldn't mind, please.
We can get back with you with that information.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Very good. Commissioner Perkins.
Thank you, Mayor. Who is the full-time coordinator?
That's Evan Camejo.
Pardon me?
Evan Camejo. I just asked him about the newsletters.
Okay, because probably the best way to reach out would probably be to go ride by and identify a particular area that we can see that needs to be improved, but a lot of people do not look at the social media on a regular basis. Some people do, some don't. But in order to reach some of these businesses, it's good to just drive through the neighborhood and see where, this project will work, or this facade would work for the business. So if the coordinator can give me a call, I'd be happy to work with them.
Okay.
Very good. Commissioner Segerson-Eaton.
Thank you. So, can you, do you have an idea how many applications you get a year for the Northwest CRA?
This past year for the Northwest, we did not receive any.
Okay, and so the year before?
The year before, we had,
I believe it
I would say 3 we had the year before.
Okay, so, so if a business comes to you and says, we want to take advantage of this program, they have to fill the application out and meet the criteria set forth, the shared cost, and the permitting, any construction drawings, and all that need to be done by the business owner. That has to come through and then go through the permitting process. But, I mean, unless the funding has run out, there would be no reason to refuse anyone of this program. Would that be a true statement?
That would be a true statement, I believe. We brought an application to you from the East, and we told you that we had run out, there was $180,000 available in that account that we allocated, and that we would have to move $20,000 to meet what we were recommending of the $200,000 for the strip shopping center. So we try to work with anybody who comes in. We're trying not to deny anybody. And we leave ourselves open and available, and we get emails as well as phone calls, and we work with these applicants because some of them don't know the process.
Sure.
And even when they get to a permitting area, we try to help them and guide them through that as well. So we're open and available, and we encourage people to ask for information. And we're trying to, now that we have a full-time coordinator, get out in the field. He has been out to the strip shopping center, as far as almost to Power Line Road. So he's gone through that area as well and talked to businesses there. So we're trying to do the outreach. We're trying to do it through the newsletters and trying to communicate it as best we can.
All right, great, thank you.
Commissioner Smith, then back to Vice Mayor.
Kim, do you think that the hesitancy in the Northwest is because this is reimbursable funds. Do we have a loan program that could help?
We do not have a loan program, but within the agreement itself, we can pay the contractor directly as part of the process. So that is a caveat that's within that agreement. And we're currently doing that with one of the applicants now, so.
Okay.
Where we're paying the contractor directly.
Directly, instead of reimbursable.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, that was one of my questions also. I think whatever it is we're doing, we're not maybe reaching the right people, or there's some holdup for them, whether it's the permitting process and all the drawings they need to do, or the outlay of the money up front. But of the 20, how many of those are in Old Town? I mean, we probably have quite a few there that have taken advantage of this also.
I would say the majority were Old Town. There were some on 731 MLK Boulevard. We did do 2 or 3 along that corridor area as well. Right off the top of my head, I would have to research and get you the proper information. We do keep a data sheet.
Okay, that's fine. You said there were 20. I mean, I jotted down, yeah, almost half that might be in Old Town. So when it's a targeted area and people know how to access the money, like in Old Town, they were able to make it work. I do think what Commissioner Perkins said is really important, that maybe some of these other businesses, social media isn't the way to reach them. So if there is some way to be proactive about going out to the business owners or the churches or however we reach people best in the Northwest, to let them know that it is both available to everybody, not just these targeted areas, and what Commissioner Smith said, that it's, you know, there's a way to pay the contractors directly, because I think that would be one of the holdups, that people think they have to outlay all of this money up front.
Very good. Further, Commissioner Perkins?
Yes, if I could remember correctly, I remember Macmillan's Barbecue. Weren't they a part of this?
So,
Yes, they
so
did.
there's a couple other ones outside of Old Town. McMillan's was one. Big Tree's another one that we're working on. The latest one in the Northwest was the Vault in Old Town, but then we also did IMB Medical up there on Dixie. That's not one of those uses we normally would incentivize, but because of the need and the location, we thought they would qualify going forward. So IMB Medical was one of them as well. You know, O.C. Phillips, well, a while back, that was one on MLK. Snappers came in a couple times.
So did we complete the facade design for Macmillan?
No, that was not completed. We were working with him. We reached a certain point. There was a certain aspect of that project that needed to complete it, and it was the big tree. And we were working with him. And then I believe he decided collectively that it was becoming too, and when I'm saying he lived in Tampa, one of the McMillans is who I was working for. And I think collectively they decided to put the property up for sale.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm aware of. Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, I think we also did Freeman Funeral Home.
We did do Freeman, and then we came back and did Freeman's roof.
Yeah, that's what I recall. Very good. Further commission, just explain the priority area. So it's open to everybody, but we have priority areas. How does that work? So in other words, if 2 applications came at the same time, is that kind of what?
Like I explained, it's based on funding availability, so that we would look at the target area first if an application came in, and place priority to that before something outside of the target area. But you got to recall that in the east, in the Northwest, you have $400,000 available to do these incentive programs. We have not run into that at this point, but that is the reason for the target areas, to make the most visual impact in those commercial corridors. We have not run into that, I would say, but we would place priority. Let's put the east into perspective. If one came in on, let's say, Atlantic Boulevard, and one outside of that core area, and depending on the funding, we would place priority to the target area.
Okay, but all things being equal, if we've got money, it can be anywhere in the CRA.
Correct.
Okay,
It's really first come, first serve.
gotcha. Very good. Thank you. For the Commissioner Fessick.
Thank you. Just one quick question. You mentioned that there was $400,000 available for the Northwest program. How much is available on the east side?
In current budget, we've expended all those funds. You'll see the recommendation in the budget coming up as to what we're looking for in the east, and we are going to recommend it go up by 100,000.
And what was it previously?
200.
200. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Seegerson-Eaton.
Yes, thank you. Just briefly, in the funding, I mean, as we have formed our CRAs, our adjusted tax revenue that everybody pays the normal rate over and above what it was when it started, is then that tax revenue from that defined area goes to the CRA, the management of the CRA. So it's not like the whole city is tax dollars are paying for these commercials. This is just the CRA tax dollars, correct?
That is correct. It's only within the Northwest or the East CRA districts only.
Okay, yeah, because, and it's not like, it's like, I had a resident talk to me saying, well, how come I can't get $200,000 to fix up my house? And obviously in a CRA, you're still paying taxes like you normally would, but a portion of those taxes go to CRA so that we can facilitate these types of programs to spur economic vitality, get rid of slum, blight, and bring businesses to the area, to make the area look desirable. Is that accurate, would you say?
Yes.
Fairly accurate.
Yes.
All right, in lay terms, and Claudia would probably give me some legalese on that, but that's okay. I just wanted to point that out because I think some maybe aren't understanding how the CRA is funded, and it's only in those specific areas, and it's not any more or less than what they would normally pay. It's just going to a different taxing authority. And this helps spur the, exactly what we see in the East, through all of the shopping centers on Atlantic that were vacant and nobody wanted. So we're now seeing some vitality return to the area. So that's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Further commission discussion? Questions? Seeing none? Thank you very much. Appreciate that presentation. Very, very good. Get the word out there. All right, that takes us up to a second presentation. Presentation of the proposed fiscal year 2006 budgets and financing and implementation plans, FY 2026 through 2030 for the East and Northwest CRA districts. Ms. Vasquez.
Yes, good afternoon. Once again, Kimberly Vasquez, CRA Project Manager. The item before you today is the proposed FY 2026 budget for both the East and the Northwest districts. And with that, I'll start with the East. The East saw an overall total value growth of 23%, and this was mainly due to $97.9 million in new construction. And you see it was captured really in residential growth and your commercial use. Snapshot of the budget is, if up at the top is the total sources of revenue, and you're looking at 40 million, and that's coming in tax increment at 7.8 million, and that's from the city, the county, and the North Broward Hospital District. Building rentals of $147,000, that's CRA-owned properties, and we have tenants. You see investment earnings of $75,000. We do have proposed in here a tax increment bond of $22.3 million, and we are anticipating a carry forward fund balance of $9.6 million. The total uses or expenditures goes to operations at a little over $2 million. That includes us as staff. We do have a cost allocation that goes to the city for services. You also see here the split with the developer, which is the Mela project. And then we have our general operating expenses. Debt service of $2.5 million. That's currently your 2013 A and B bond series, and proposed 2026 debt service issuance cost. And the majority of the funding you'll see is going to redevelopment projects at $35.3 million. The infrastructure and streetscape is going to McNabb. You see the revenue sources up top, and they're coming from a tax increment bond of $18.1 million, tax increment revenue of $1.9 million, and carry forward of $6.9 million of unencumbered, unexpended funds. And all the expenditures are going to the McNabb House and Garden project of $27 million. Redevelopment initiatives, the revenue source is tax increment revenue at $350,000, and the expenditures is incentive programs, and we're recommending $300,000 towards that program, as well as dissemination of information of $50,000. We have our neighborhood stabilization, and you see that as incremental revenue of $160,000, and the expenditures for our redevelopment ambassadors, which is done through FPI Security Services. We have property acquisition. You see that $4 million of incremental bond, tax increment revenue of $972,000, and carry forward of $2.7 million for property acquisition of $7.6 million. And then we have consulting and professional services. We have tax increment revenue of $175,000, and that goes for our consulting services and our investment advisor. That concludes the East budget for 2026. The Northwest budget. You see, we had a certified value of $2.2 billion. The total overall growth for the area was 16%, and you had $125 million in new construction. And it's broken out into industrial use at 40% and residential at 45% are the two biggest. Your biggest growth was in residential, commercial, and industrial. The total sources of revenue for the Northwest is at $58.9 million. Tax increment is at $9.4 million, and we get city tax increment only. We have interlocal project funding at $750,000. This is as per the interlocal agreement that was approved in 2019, and this is your last payment of that project funding through the additional taxing authorities. Miscellaneous at $285,000. That includes your micro enterprise loan repayments, building rental revenues, investment earnings, etc. You do see the FY 2026 bond series of $32.3 million. There's also within the finance plan in 2028 the part 2 to the bond series of another $32.3 million. And that's for the infrastructure streetscape improvements as per the MDA for the downtown. We're anticipating a carry forward fund balance of $16.1 million. Below are your uses, are your expenditures, once again at $58.9 million. You see operations is at $2.1 million. That includes us as staff. We do have, in addition to 3 full-time grounds crews and 3 part-time grounds crews that work only in the Northwest area. You see the TIF split with the developer, that's for Old Town Square, and then our general operating expenses. We are anticipating debt service at $1.6 million. That's your FY 2022 debt service, and then issuance cost for the 2026 bond. We are going to hold a reserve of $1.9 million, and then the majority of your funding is going to redevelopment projects at $53.2 million. The Downtown Master Development Agreement that was approved of June of last year. You see the sources coming in up at top, which is tax incremental revenue at $3.8 million anticipated in carry forward. Taxing Authority Interlocal Agreement of $8.3 million. The Bond Series 2026 at $31.9 million for a total of $44 million. And the expenditures are going to your downtown district infrastructure at $29.8 million and downtown land acquisition at $14.2. We have the infrastructure and streetscape initiatives. This is outside of the downtown core area. Tax increment revenue of $2.1 million. We are expecting a carry forward fund balance of unencumbered, unexpended funds of $700,000. And then you see the Bond Series 2022. This is interest and carry forward only. No new additional TIF is going to that. Expenditures is as per the Sonata Development Agreement that we have of $300,000. This is the last payment that we're making to them. 11 Northeast First Street building improvements, that's $700,000 we've allocated and approved to go towards the improvement to that property. Infrastructure and streetscapes of $1.8 million, that's for the refurbishment project of Northwest 6th Avenue. And then you see the Dixie Atlantic infrastructure at $429,000. Vertical project development, you see the revenue source is tax increment revenue at $443,000. Building rentals of $82,000. And then the expenditures, tenant improvements at $50,000. CRA building maintenance at $300,000. That's for CRA-owned properties that we maintain. Rentals and leases at $176,000. Redevelopment initiatives, your tax increment revenue is $497,000, and then this is where we're capturing the micro enterprise loan revenue of $3,000, total of $500,000. And you'll see the allocation is going to incentive programs and dissemination of information for $100,000. Area stabilization, you see the revenue source as tax increment revenue of $439,000. The expenditures is going to our redevelopment ambassadors, FPI security at this time, at $369,000. Additional security and safety at $50,000. That we maintain really for cameras that we have to put in certain locations of the Northwest. And then you see emergency rehab of housing stock. We do maintain $20,000, and that goes towards OHUI when they run out of their emergency rehab funding. Property maintenance and property acquisition, this is outside of the downtown core. You see our revenue source of tax increment revenue at $414,000. And then an unencumbered, unexpended carry-forward fund balance of $3.6 million. You see the expenditures is going to property maintenance, special services at $30,000, and then property acquisition at $4 million. This consultants and professional services, the source of funding is tax increment revenue. The expenditures is going for demolition services at $50,000. Consultants at $294,000, and investment advisors at $5,200. This is coming to you in draft today, and then will come as a final budget in September 16th, 2025. That concludes my overview of the FY 2026 budgets.
Very good. Thank you for that. Appreciate the presentation. So this is not a workshop per se, but let's go ahead and open it up to the public for any comments they have on the budget presentation. Is there any public input? Please come forward. Just name and address for the record. Limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, everyone. 4280 Northeast 18th Avenue, Dominic Lewis. I just have a couple questions about the bond. I was just wondering, you said that the bond was, I don't think I got what rate of interest rate?
That wasn't, you're going to address the chair, and
Okay.
that wasn't stated, and just give us your input. We're not doing a question and
Okay,
answer.
so when I was thinking that it would have been helpful to kind of understand where the interest rates we're getting at right now for those bonds. Another thing is, or is any kind of simulation is done relative to those projects that are happening right now? So we're projecting to use those funds, as outlined here in the presentation, but is there any sort of simulation that was done in order to see, well, does it make sense? What happened if things change? Could it be cheaper, faster? So that's a question. So I don't know, maybe you could take that off.
We're not doing question and answer.
Okay. And then another thing is, so there were, and another thing was this, so at what point do the bonds get issued, right? Has that been already finalized? Is there a date for those bonds to be issued, or is that just a TBD sometime in the future?
Yeah, as it was indicated, it's not included officially until action by the commission or the CRA board.
Thank you.
Further input from the public?
Once again, my name is Ed Phillips. I currently reside at 384 Northwest 19th Street, Pompano Beach, 33060. I guess my questions, concerns, input is I'd like to open it up, first of all, in the budget, because all of this is kind of tied in what I'm about to say. A lot of us, we hate reimbursement program where we spend money and then you give it back to us. If you want to talk about encouraging folks to participate, that does not encourage folks, small businesses, to participate because their cash flow is just not like that. So if we were to do anything going forward, I would suggest that you try to figure out how to minimize the reimbursement programs. And as a matter of fact, because it's a governmental program with federal dollars, somehow I thought that that would be done because we're not a bank. It's not a bank. I would imagine you don't use the same kind of criteria to give out money as banks, or else we wouldn't need, what we're doing here now. So having said that, that's a thought. The other part is this business about we have to give, or the person who is being involved would have to do $5,000 up front and another $12,000 in order to be able to receive the money. For small businesses, that's a discourager. Not unless you put in a time frame, which would not be an upfront time frame. If you give them a lot of time to come up with that money and still be able to receive money. And again, this is just a thought as a business person. I run into a lot of small business people who would like to participate, but you ask almost the same amount of information that banks would ask. The financial components, you're still asking the same stuff the banks would ask. There's no need for you, not unless you're talking about relaxing the credit criteria. So I think that what happened is it started out meaning well, but it evolved into the same criteria that banks would utilize. And so that is one thing, or a couple of things I'd like you to think about. I must tell you, and for all due respect, and I mean no harm, when you start talking about going out to find small businesses in a CRA Northwest area, hire somebody black to do that. My God, it's a no-brainer. And I keep saying that, and I feel kind of bad saying it because I think that somehow either we're having blinders on or we just don't want to understand what that really means. Thank you.
Thank you. Further input from the public? Seeing none, public input closed. All right, commission discussion, questions, concerns. Commissioner Fessick.
I just have a couple. Let's start with the East CRA. So just to be clear, on September 16th, I believe, are these coming as two separate items? Two separate agenda items?
Yes, they come as two separate resolutions. Yes, that's correct.
And nothing as part of a plan in general would allow or permit anything to be done without a certain approval, either by CRA board or city commission approval, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and these plans are living, breathing documents that can be changed or amended at any time, correct?
Yes, your budgets can come back and be amended during the course of the year. That is correct.
Thank you. So I noticed in the East CRA, I'm going to just jump to this one. The East CRA, there's some purchases for property acquisitions to be made. Do we have we identified those properties, or are we just anticipating that we might want to spend money in the area?
We have done some identification of additional properties that we would like to acquire, yes.
Okay. And then I noticed that under personnel, it says represents an allocation of the following staff positions. And in the paragraph that you gave us, CRA director 50%, redevelopment project manager 50%, and so on. Is there a way that we could see how that's being budgeted through the CRA and with salaries and job descriptions of each, or how that's allocated? Is it 50% for the East CRA and 50% for the West CRA?
No, it's 50% in the East, and for the 5 full-time CRA employees, it's 50% East, 50% Northwest. We have 2 employees that are 50% CRA, 50% city. So 25% goes to the Northwest, 25% goes to the East.
Okay. Is there a way that we could just get that sort of in a later time, a line item, and just kind of clarified who and what how that breakdown is
Yes.
laid out? Thank you.
Yes, we do have that document.
Perfect. And then the other thing with the East was related to the issuance of the bonds, taxing for the McNabb House project. So again, as proposed, that would be something we would be seeing separately at a different agenda item as well?
It will come back to you as part of the East budget, be approved by there are separate resolutions, one for the Northwest, one for the East budgets. So it will come back to you. Are you asking if the bond would come back to you as a separate item from the budget, or?
Yes.
Yes, that is correct. It would still have to come back to you for approval.
Okay.
Does somebody has a phone going off?
She walked.
She walked out. Okay.
We get a little intro music in the. And then, so I'll move to the Northwest District. So I just had a few questions here. So there's a lot more money, obviously. So the very first thing that was kind of brought forward to my attention was the carry forward balance of 16 million and change.
Right.
What is that being used for? Is that typical to have a $16 million carry forward balance in CRAs?
We have had in the Northwest, it's really project-based. When you see the unencumbered, unexpended funds, it really carry forwards from one year into the next and really allocated to the project. So they're really mainly project-based carry forwards. If the project didn't get completed in 25, we roll it forward into 2026. Okay. So it's really capital project improvements.
And so the reason why I was just because I've sat through here and I've listened to everybody come through and talk about how they'd like things done in their neighborhood, and I was just curious why we wouldn't reinvest that back into, such and such, whether it be street beautifications, park beautifications, streetscapes, you name it. Okay, have we ever applied for a Main Street grant as a CRA, or is?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know when in your time, have you? No, we have not here.
Okay. And what is the miscellaneous operating expense under operations? It's like $739,465.
As part of the finance plan that you received, it breaks it out in further detail, but it's really our operations cost, and you're talking specifically for the Northwest. It's just general operations like for office supplies, telephones. We do have insurance that we have to pay. It includes taxes on property. It includes, I can give you the breakdown. It includes special legal fees, accounting and auditing, travel and training, postage, water and sewer. We do have water bills that we have to pay. Insurance premiums, we do have to pay insurance on property. Real estate taxes, credit card bank fees, office supplies, phone, minor equipment, computer equipment, software purchases, and publications. And then that's our just general operations internal. And then we do have an internal service fund that goes to the city that covers central services, central stores, health insurance, risk management. There is vehicle insurance in there, but that is not for us as staff. That's really to that dedicated groundskeeping crew. They have a vehicle that they have to use and information systems. That's a breakdown of the operations for the Northwest.
Thank you. Let me see, there had one more note, I think. And then just, oh, here it was. Under financing and implementation plan, under infrastructure and streetscapes, you mentioned on the slide that you had was $700,000 for 11 Northeast First Street building improvements. Is that the old wash house?
That is correct.
Okay. And then infrastructure and streetscape improvements says, let's see, 1.8 million. Where is that? Because it's not part of the downtown project. So where is that?
No, I did state it. It's for Northwest 6th Avenue. We're currently doing a refurbishment project where we're moving the roundabouts, putting in the raised tables, and doing a parking lot for Annie Adderley Gillis Park.
Perfect, thank you. The only other question I have is FPI, our redevelopment ambassadors, on both of them, we seem to be spending quite a bit of money as part of, I guess, that would fall under what, community policing for a CRA?
Yes, the community policing innovations, yes.
Okay. Is that something we've looked at recently, or how long is that contract?
Their contract actually will be coming to the end of a 3-year term in November. We are going to go back out with a request for proposal just to see what else is available out there. So.
And I bring that up just because I think that it's really important to note with the Real-Time Crime Center, and I know you had $50,000 earmarked for some cameras and things like that. If there's any way we can potentially try to use community policing and blend it with ESO, that might be a good option moving forward, just to reallocate maybe some resources, financial resources, to either more cameras or more personnel or whatever they might need, and still be part of that community policing. Because I've personally seen FBI in the east side sitting at the St. Martin's Episcopal Church for well over an hour, chatting on their phone, walking around their car, and then they're gone for a little bit, and then they come back. And so, you know, maybe they took some time off, but I've seen that regularly where I think we'd be better served by actual officers rather than somebody just driving around in a car. But just a thought. I just want to double check it. So one more thing, just to make sure, just private financing. So for the Northwest CRA, obviously we have the downtown project. So does private financing include bonds? Is that how we'll be paying for that through the developer, through bonds?
What you see in the CRA budget, those are tax increment revenue bonds that we're proposing.
Okay, so could you explain that to me a little bit more, Ms. Sybil? I can see you standing.
Ms. Sybil?
Good afternoon, Chairman, Vice Chair, members of the CRA Board, Suzette Sybil, Assistant City Manager. So for the Northwest, currently we're budgeting for private financing as the City Commission did not approve, or the CRA Board, public financing. So we are doing private financing. How that works, it's a combination of the developer obtaining a loan from a lender as well as putting in equity to finance the project. So it's really two components that are built in for that, for the private financing. It's what we refer to as a loan-to-cost ratio. Usually when developers seek lending for commercial projects, they're usually not funded at 100%. They do have to include some equity in there, and then there's a return on that equity to the developer.
Right, so, but would that be listed as, you have it listed as tax increment revenue bonds, and so would they be able to bond out, or would we still be doing that?
So it's listed in there, I think, as inter-ILA payments in the finance plan. So I think it's in the 2 out years. I think it starts in 29 and 30. Am I not answering the question you're pointing?
Can I clarify something?
I'm done, that was my last question, so thank you.
I think you're talking about the infrastructure bonds that are listed in the budget here.
Yes.
It's the half of the infrastructure bonds.
Oh, you're talking about the infrastructure
That's what
bonds. Okay, sorry. They're both in there, though. The private financing is also in there. So the infrastructure bonds are tax increment bonds. That is correct. And there are two phases, in 2026 and 2028.
Okay. I didn't see the other one in this,
I don't have it in front of me.
except for the McNabb.
Now where that is?
It's in your Northwest plan.
Okay.
It's on page 3. You see it coming in 2026, the 31.9 million. And then again, in the column that says FY 2028, you see it as 31.9 million.
Can you put it back up on the screen?
Page 3.
Are you speaking debt service or the bond issuance?
I'm looking at, on page 3, so I see the 31,925 financing, the 31,925,000 for 26 and 28, but it's listed under financing as tax increment revenue bonds, Series 2026 and Series 2028.
Yes, that's the infrastructure bonds.
Okay. And what is the other one I'm missing then?
So on page 1, a few lines up from the bottom, you'll see ILA rent payments, civic buildings.
Right.
And that's the private financing. That's the lease payments for the private financing.
Okay. I think maybe I'll just have to get back with you separately, and I'll go over this with you, answer any further questions. Thank you.
It's fine.
Is it? Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. Further, Vice Mayor?
Thank you. I have a couple questions on the east and the northwest. So if the Florida legislature had passed the bill that they were considering with respect to CRAs and limiting the extension of them and limiting their ability to issue new bonds and new debt, how would that change our east budget?
Well, as far as the McNabb project goes as it stands now, they're on a path to have construction, 90% construction drawings by May of next year. So we would intend to issue once we're at 90%. If we do not if it does pass legislature prior to issuing bond, we would have to look at a different source of revenue.
So we had to, I think, contemplate this year because it was being debated by the legislature this year. So what were the options that you looked at this year on the chance that that bill had passed? And my guess is that it's coming back, but had it passed this year, how would that change what we are looking at? This bond wouldn't be in here, I would assume. And what would we be looking at for financing the McNabb House?
We would have to, we're proposing to issue the bond as the best course of action to get this project done within a 3-year time frame. If we were to have to go to another option as a pay-as-you-go, it would be a drawn-out project. I think we've been through this. We would lose revenue as far as the operations of a restaurant an event facility would go. It would just be drawn out to a longer process. I know the public is pushing to get this project done as well as staff, but we feel like issuing a bond would be the best course of action to take.
I understand that the CRA's position is that issuing a bond is the best course of action to take. My question is, had the legislature passed that, and if they passed that before we get this bond issued, is there a plan for, is there a budget or a plan for getting the McNabb House done anyway? Because I'm concerned, if that passes, what are we doing?
Well, we were fortunate that it didn't pass this year. We were watching it very carefully. So when that point came forward, we are moving forward at issuing a bond. We would have to take it as it comes, Vice Mayor.
Do you have have you looked at it? Do you have an idea of what this would look like? Have you kind of, are we going to be able to make it happen if we had to?
So Vice Mayor, I guess we're going to have to wait on what that legislation brings and the language in it. Bonding is one form of financing, but also there are other forms that's not a bond. There's also private financing too. So it depends on what that language the legislature passes, and if it does pass, and what that time frame is. We don't know.
Okay, I just want to make sure we have a plan B here, that we're looking at options, especially in the east when we have this one big project out there that is.
And as Ms. Vasquez says, you know, right now, we aren't bound by anything. We are pressured by everybody to let's go ahead and complete this project. We are recommending the bond route right now because we can, and it's the quickest way to do it and have everything done as fast as we can. And it's also the cheapest route. Right now, the interest rates are very good on the bond rather than stretching it out on escalation costs on construction and labor, which we don't know what that is in the future.
Okay, and we did get an estimate for what we think the McNabb House will cost, and that's in this budget?
So
I know we were waiting for
we
that.
have a cost estimate. It is at 27 million with an annual escalation of 6.5%. So I can't tell you what the escalation is 7 years from now, but what I can tell you is the interest rates, if we do go bond, is less than that, so.
When you say an escalation of 6.5%, you mean based on us slipping the starting of
Construction escalation, remobilization if you stop a contract. Oftentimes, if you have the money up front, you can lock the contractor down on the price, and a lot of times you get the best price if you contract now. So that's what we're recommending.
Okay, so but we do have the cost estimate that we were waiting for in the McNabb House, and that is included in this budget and the size of the bond and all of that.
Correct.
That is correct.
With respect to the Northwest CRA, where in the budget are the payments to the developer, to CBRE, to the consultants for the downtown project, for the downtown piece of it? Is it on page 3 somewhere in the uses?
It is on page 3.
Which line of the uses is it? Because I see land acquisition and infrastructure. I don't see any kind of overhead line item.
It's recognized as a carry forward because it's at one point, right now, it's a little over $1 million that we have left available if it's not encumbered prior to year end. We have encumbered all the dollars in the current year for the development cost, and that was a little over 3.6 million.
So there were 3.6 million of costs to the developer and other development partners like CBRE and other consultants that were encumbered in fiscal year 2025?
Correct.
So where do I see it in the fiscal year 2026 budget? Because I know we have additional payments we need to make.
Well, you won't see it reflected as new funding coming in. You'll see it at the end of the fiscal year, when it drops down and gets moved forward, usually in November. That's where you'll see, because it's already encumbered on a purchase order is what I really want to say.
So you've encumbered the amounts for 2026 also?
No, we encumbered the amount for the development fee in the current fiscal year.
Right, but there are development fees we have to pay in fiscal year 2026 also, right?
I would have to defer
I
to
don't-
civil developer.
It's monthly for, what is it, 24
Is
months?
that civil assistant city manager? I think I believe you encumbered. We have a commitment via the master development agreement. I believe you have 3.6 million left relative to that development fee, which is paid over 36 months. So is that in your carry forward number? So it's in the carry forward number for the development fee.
Okay, so it was encumbered already and it's just being carried forward, even though it's fees that are due or owed in fiscal year 2026 and beyond?
Right.
Okay. Okay. Okay, and so it's 3.6 million, and we'll see whatever hasn't been paid as carry forward when,
Correct. Usually in November, when they close down the books, they'll carry forward any of those dollar amounts.
okay. And I also had a question about 11 Northeast First. I believe when the restaurateur was looking at that, didn't they come to the conclusion that that was basically a tear down for them? And if maybe it's just a tear down for them, what are we going to do to invest in that property, and what is the plan?
We actually had a civil engineer look at it, 2 civil engineers as well as a contractor. Their recommendation and the restaurateur who we were in former negotiations with on that project decided collectively that it would be better to tear the property down and do a ground-up construction, because you would have floor elevation issues, and right now you have just 3 concrete walls. There's really nothing else in that property, and they said it would cost more to renovate it as is versus doing a demolition and ground-up construction.
So what is the money that we have in the budget this year for that building?
It's a carry forward. We had put $700,000 to that project, and we will continue to carry it forward until we get with someone. Our intent is to, at some point, put it back out for request for proposal, and we will allocate that $700,000 as part of the development of that property.
Okay, so there's no intent to do anything with that money right now? It's just,
No.
it just gets carried forward every year?
Correct.
Okay. The dissemination of information, was that 100,000 in the Northwest?
Yes, that's correct.
What do we spend that on?
We do social media. We did some collateral materials. We have the street dissemination of information on the street banners. I would have to come up with that's right off the top of my head. But mainly it's social media, it's the collateral materials, I can't say marketing materials, it's just any information that we provide, flyers, et cetera, on our projects.
Okay, maybe we need to have a different conversation about what informational social media is versus marketing, or pushing a certain agenda. The other list I have here is something that came up yesterday, but I was told we should talk about today. So I have a couple items that the public brought up yesterday and that we all discussed, and I'm wondering if there's a way to fund these in the Northwest CRA, through the CRA. Someone brought up Wi-Fi in the neighborhoods. I'm not that familiar with the issue, but I'm assuming that there are pockets of neighborhoods where people don't have access to Wi-Fi, which, for kids coming home and doing their homework, things like that, I would think it would be important to have that. So is that an allowable activity in a CRA? Is somehow paving, because we've been trying to get everything paved in our city, and if there was some way we could beautify streets in the Northwest through the Northwest CRA, it could alleviate some pressure on the city budget. And cameras. Those are the 3 things that, if we could find ways to get this money disseminated out into the neighborhoods, or some of the Northwest budget disseminated out into the neighborhoods, I think it would be beneficial for everyone, and also, to me, reduces slum and blight, like the mandate of a CRA. So Claudia, is there some way, I know if there's something we want to do, we find ways to do it. So if you were, someone was twisting your arm and said, make this happen, would there be a way to try and come up with those programs?
Ms. McKinnon?
Yes, thank you. They're not specifically called out as eligible activities. What we'd have to do is sort of put our thinking caps on and see if there is a way to fit them within, we have a list in 163-370 of what we're allowed to spend trust fund dollars on. And then in 387 now, which is the trust fund statute, the legislature has changed the language to only. So I've got to look closely at that list and see if there's a way that we can craft it. For example, with the cameras, if we can demonstrate that that would fit into a community policing innovation, that there would be a way to reduce crime, we'd want to look at our calls for service in a particular area and see whether or not we could articulate a community policing innovation. The paving is a little more complicated because street paving is a general administrative expense that's prohibited, but
Beautification.
if we were able to identify a streetscape project where we're going to go in and we're going to put some street lights in and we're going to put sidewalks in and we're going to do maybe a median with landscaping, then we can pave along with that. It's part of that. That's an eligible activity. So we'd have to look at that. What I always, I think I've mentioned I go to the Florida Redevelopment Conference and I do a panel on what you can do, the do's and don'ts of CRAs. And I always tell elected officials, find a way to horse trade with the city. Take a look at all of your city capital projects within a CRA area and figure out what of those capital projects are eligible activities under the CRA statute. Let the CRA pick up those projects and then use your general fund money for something else. So that's, I think, the first step, taking a really fly-spec what's going on in the CIP, in the city side, within the CRA areas. The Wi-Fi, a little more challenging, but again, let us take a look at that, see if we can find a way to tie it to something in the list in 387. We are not permitted to do any kind of social service. It's very clearly a bricks and mortar statute. So we'd have to figure out a way that we could tie that in, perhaps. I don't want to speak off the cuff, but let me I'll certainly sit with the CRA staff and we'll look at that list and, and then perhaps it's taking on a capital project from the city so that the city could then step in and do the Wi-Fi. But we'll take a really close look at it and see if we can find a way.
Thank you. So my goal is to try to ensure that we are spending money throughout the Northwest CRA, not just in certain areas or in certain projects. And there are needs way more broadly in the big area. And if we could find ways to, under the statutes with allowable activities, to do some of these things in the neighborhoods that would kind of uplift everyone, I think that we need to be, essentially, to the extent possible, twisting ourselves into a pretzel to get that done also, not just the development project.
I'm a good twister.
I know you are. I know you are, Ms. McKenna. You are definitely the woman for the job. But the other question I know I had asked when we met last week, and I don't know if you have the answer, Kim, I didn't have a chance to look it up, is if I were to look back at this budget in the out years 5 years ago, do you know how much TIF revenue we projected 5 years ago that we would have this year in the Northwest CRA? Did you have a chance to look that up?
No, I did not. I'm sorry. I can get that for you,
Okay.
though. I will provide.
My point was the growth has been so much stronger than we all expected that if we looked 5 years ago, and this was the out year of a 5-year plan, my guess it's nowhere near it was nowhere near the $9.5 million that we have this year. So with all this incremental revenue that we have realized through the increased property values all over the Northwest CRA and the development, if there's some ways to give more of this back and instead of just put it in these same target areas, we need to be doing that. Thank you.
Well, one thing, 5 years ago was right when COVID hit too. So we could have never anticipated that. That's why we anticipate our growth very conservatively at 4%. I believe when I look back at that COVID year, we did go up, but not, right around 4%, 3-4% for the Northwest.
In fiscal year 2026?
I believe so. We've been averaging right around, maybe 8, 9, 10%, but during the COVID year, it was very low. The East, I think, went up 1% during that year, but we'll verify those numbers, but we'll bring that back to you.
Yeah, I don't think that's exactly my question, isn't the growth. And even if 2020 is a bad base year, then give me 2022 and we'll look at the, relative to what we thought fiscal year 2026 revenue would look like.
Vice Mayor, did you look at our annual report? I don't know if that data
It's going to be in there, yeah, I just need to go do it.
Okay, I was just curious, because I believe that data that you're requesting
Yeah.
is in there as part of the annual report.
I'll have it pulled up by the end of the meeting. My point is that there's been much more growth than we expected in the Northwest Sierra and the East and citywide. So there is a windfall here, and we need to, maybe this is how it's always been done in the Northwest and the East Sierras, but we need to make sure that we are fairly allocating money to the neighborhoods that are funding the CRA. Thank you.
Very good. I just to kind of touch on what you brought up, Vice Mayor, about the Wi-Fi paving and those kinds of things. It's a great idea. We can look into that kind of stuff, but I would just, caution everybody that make sure you look into it thoroughly, because those are the kind of actions that the legislature was looking at when they tried to change the CRA statutes. They wanted to make it much more difficult to do anything as a CRA, because there were some CRAs, not ours, but some CRAs that were doing things that the legislature didn't agree with. So you got to be careful about that kind of stuff. But that's very good points. Absolutely, share the wealth. Commissioner Fessick.
Thank you. Just had a couple of questions. So, Mr. Tran, I was a little bit disappointed that there wasn't a backup plan, just in case there was any pushback from last year that would show collaboration if we had one, if we had a plan B. Just showing that we're able to move with the tides a little bit more freely. You mentioned that you were pressured by people to complete the project, and I just wanted to make sure we clarify, who do you feel pressured by to complete the project? Is it residents?
No, I think we all agree that the project is lagging. A lot of times people forget that we moved the house March 1st, 2020, then COVID hit on March 20th. So we had a total shutdown of a good 2 years of industry shutdown, but we still went through the process with Zoom. Zoom was getting very big back then, and we held a lot of workshops and got valuable input through Zoom. It did slow down the process. We are on track again. We hired a firm to do design development. We just finished AAC and unanimously got approval from AAC. We're moving forward to P&Z. So we are going as fast as we can, because we want this project done. We want this to be an asset to the city. We want this to be another world-class destination that we have been working very hard to do with all our projects. So with that said, we would like it done as fast as we can, and that's why we are recommending this is the route to do it as fast as we can, as cheap as we can.
Okay. Do we have a new restaurant partner?
As of now, no, we did not solicit. We did have inquiries on sitting down and talking to partners. We've had it in the past. We issue solicitations in the past. They are not interested until the gardens get done. And that's the most important thing, is all the three components, the event pavilion, the restaurant, the gardens, they all work together to produce that revenue to try to keep and offset the cost.
Okay. And you mentioned your new consultant at design development. Who's that?
That's BA.
Sorry?
BA.
BA. Oh, so they're the same ones, Bergamot.
They're the same ones, yes.
Mello Ajamil, right? And then do we have a new consultant for attempting to get us a new restaurant partner?
No, we can issue that solicitation now, since now we have defined plans, a little more detailed. It's very interesting to a lot of operators. We're not just looking for a restaurant operator, we're looking for somebody to also run the event side of it.
And then, just so I'm clear, because it's been a few months since I've asked, what have we spent so far? The total cost spent on everything, I mean, everything under the McNabb House umbrella, so any capital project, I guess, or is that right? That would be, right, a capital project or something like that for McNabb House?
It is, I mean, the last time we ran it was a couple months back, so we would have to run new numbers for you to get the exact numbers.
Okay, I would appreciate that. Is it, I mean, have we spent a lot more since January?
No, it's just to BA and design development right now.
Okay. And so I will look forward to getting if you wouldn't mind, just email me an updated list of that, please, just so I know how much has been spent on that. I had a question about property acquisition, because it's something that I had asked at our city commission meeting. And Ms. McKenna, maybe you can help me understand what the process would be for the property acquisitions, the process of those. Mr. Berman wanted me to ask you, I think, because it was CRA related.
We identify a property, we approach the seller, and if the seller is amenable, we negotiate a price, and if the seller is amenable, then we do a purchase and sale agreement.
Okay. All right, thank you, that's all.
Very good. Further, Vice Mayor.
Just to close the loop on what I was talking about. So if we are sitting here 3 years ago, looking at the fiscal year 2023 budget, and we were looking at fiscal year 2026, which is what we're looking at, the projected revenue in the Northwest CRA was only 6.9 million, and it's 9.5. So we have $2.5 million more revenue this year in the Northwest CRA than we thought we were going to have just 3 years ago. And I know we are conservative at projecting, but when I heard yesterday that if we took a little bit of money from the Northwest CRA and did something with it, that we might be in violation of covenants from our 2022 debt. I find that really hard to believe, because obviously that debt was issued with projections of us only having 6.9 million of revenue this year and 7.2 next year, and we are $2 to $3 million in excess every year of what we thought. So there's no way we'd be in violation of covenants, I think. So that's it. Thank you.
Very good. Yeah, that's true. We have more funds coming in. Further commission discussion, questions, concerns. Got Commissioner Perkins.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Can you go back, well, you still have it up. The bond series 2026, can you go back and explain that to me in layman's terms?
That's a tax increment revenue bond that's being proposed to be issued in 2026 at $31.9 million. It's for infrastructure type improvements for the downtown core area.
Okay, so is this excuse me?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
She was talking, I was trying to, anyway. So is this a private bond?
Be public.
Public?
So Commissioner, let me answer that. As you recall, we keep going back to the signed MDA back in 2020.
Right.
As the MDA spelled out what the city's obligations were, it also spelled out what the CRA's obligation is. Our obligation was the infrastructure bond at $64.5 million. As you can see, this was split into two, one at 2026 for half of it, the other half is coming in 2028. As with all our CRA bonds, they're tax increment revenue bonds.
Right.
So they are secured debt bonds. What that means is that because of our estimation on what the growth is in the district, the tax increment growth will pay for the debt service of the bond. So this is our commitment based upon the MDA, and we just split it into 2 years.
Okay, that's very interesting for staff.
So I think people get a little confused on what public and private is.
Yes.
A lot of times, these public-private deals, you get a developer, they fund it, wherever they get that money from, we call that private. A lot of times those are hedge fund guys or even ultra-wealthy families that say, here's the money, you can use this money and we expect a return. That's private financing. Public is, you know, Suzette can probably explain it better, but we go out and we go to traditional lenders and banks and you know, the public route. We fund it publicly. It's all public.
Got it. Okay, but I heard you, moving to something else, I heard you, Commissioner, say something about community policing. Were you in reference talking about the FPI services?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've been saying for the longest that for me, based on what I've seen, it's really just a waste of money. So we're paying them for services in the Northwest, and we're paying them for services on the East. And I wish you could sit there at the EPAT Larkin Center and watch them for 14 days. It's ridiculous. We've never received any reports from them to say how effective they are, but they are continuing. I don't know how this service is helping the Northwest other than walking around the EPAT Larkins building. They don't walk around City Vista. Just certain buildings, I guess they're appointed to walk around, and it's just a waste. And we've been doing this for years and years and years and years. But if you could see them the 14 days we were at EPAT Larkins, they're just riding back and forth, and I'm like, they gotta get tired of that. They're not even getting out their cars, they're just riding. And we're paying them on the East and the Northwest. So the other thing is we're paying consultants on the East $175, is that right, on the East?
That is correct.
And on the West, we're paying consultants $294.
That's what we're allocating in funding. We don't always utilize all those funds, but that's what we're budgeting for.
Okay. So how much money did we, I don't have it in front of me, we put aside for Northwest 6th Avenue? What was the amount for that?
It was 1.8 million.
1.8 million, okay. Because all you're doing on 6 is just removing the roundabouts and putting in the tables.
We're putting in raised tables at 3 intersections. So there's one with a 4-way stop sign. We're putting a raised table there and then removing the 2 roundabouts and replacing that intersection with raised tables.
Okay, and just for doing that alone is 1.8 million?
No, that's what we're
Is this
allocating in funding,
included
because
with
we
the
also have the
parking?
Annie Adderley parking lot.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
All right. So how much is the parking if you had to divide it with the 1.8?
I can tell you, we did go out for bid on the raised tables. There'll be a contract coming forward for that. Right now, just to do that just to do that project is going to cost us about $890,000. Well, I think when we also discussed that once those raised tables are put in, that will come and pave that roadway and restripe it so that it looks more presentable, so that you don't have new pavement around those raised table areas. It'll be the whole roadway from Atlantic to 15th. So that's going to be an additional cost to the $890,000. I don't have a probable cost for the parking lot improvements for Annie Adderley yet.
Okay.
That's still in site plan review.
Okay, lastly, I just wanted to know, what is the, again, what was the amount you've given for new construction? I think you said
125 million
million?
in the Northwest, yes. You had 2 major residential projects that came online this year.
Okay. All right, and we have nothing planned in the future for any kind of affordable housing? Are we still market rate?
We don't. OHUI, of course, facilitates that program. We do have in an out year a set aside for a home buyer program. I would have to defer to Nguyen to speak a little bit further on that, but we're projecting that to come from the land sales from the downtown, and it would be like a home buyer program outside of the downtown.
All right, thank you.
Very good. Further commission discussion on the budget? Seeing none, thank you for.
Mayor, may I add something?
Yes, Ms. Sybil.
Suzette Sybil, Assistant City Manager. I just wanted to clarify something relative to debt service coverage. I know the Vice Mayor brought that up earlier. So we're not only focused on the debt service coverage for the 2022 bonds that are outstanding, but also, as has been discussed here today, there are 2 bonds slated for the downtown, and it's part of our obligation under the MDA. So there are parameters in terms of coverage that were predicted, and we presented that as part of the backup when we presented the infrastructure bonds for the downtown. Obviously, we made an estimation of what we thought the coverage would be. We talked about a debt service reserve. Until we actually go to the market, we don't know exactly what we're going to get. We did work closely with our financial advisor, PFM, on that. But they do look at historical, and usually when they're calculating, they look at the prior fiscal year to do that calculation. Sometimes they go back and they look for trends. And then they look at projections, obviously. So what we were saying is we were looking for the existing tax increment to cover the debt service, which I think at its maximum peak, it's almost $7 million a year for both bond issues altogether. So I just wanted to clarify that for the record, that when we're looking to go to the market, in terms of a TIF reduction, I fully understand wanting to, maybe put some projects in the CRE that are eligible. I know that one thing that's in there this year is land acquisition for the substation. On the CRE side, on the city side in the CIP, there are construction dollars, but in the Northwest Finance Plan, there is money put aside for acquisition of land as well. We do have a little bit put aside in the city's fund balance just in case, because we don't like to talk about that publicly, but we do have to negotiate a purchase price with a willing seller. So I just wanted to state that on the record, that it's something we look at comprehensively as part of the plan, and just considering that we are going to be going to the marketplace next year, we just want to be careful and mindful of that.
Very good. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, my comment was in response to yesterday being told that if we even discussed trying to take that 95% to maybe 90%, so just a slight shift, that we could possibly be in violation of prior debt covenants for existing debt. So I understand what you're talking about, because you have projections that are for, and you have covenants that you'll have to meet on the new debt based on a current revenue. But the comment that was made to me was that we might be in violation of prior covenants. And I would find that hard to believe, that we'd be in violation of our 2022 covenants if we shifted 5%.
Okay, I don't said that, but wasn't me.
Ms. McKenna?
Yeah. It's not so much that we would be in violation, it's that we would be changing something that we disclosed to the bondholders at the time the 22 series was issued. So we would have to go back to them and say, this is the change in what we are doing in our CRA. They have to consent then, and then we would have to amend the bond documents to recognize that we've made that change. So you could be right that because we have this excess that we would meet our coverage test, but as a practical matter, you can't take the risk that you're just going to do it. You've got to. We do a very detailed disclosure statement when we issue the bonds, and we've got to be certain that we don't make any change that would trigger an event under the disclosure statement in our bond covenants that we have changed our coverage formula. So I think that's probably what Mr. Berman was trying to, communicate to everybody, that it's not just violating, it's going to the bondholders and making sure that they consent.
Thank you. Very good. Ms. Sybil, anything else? Sorry, Commissioner Fasick.
All right, so yeah, I just wanted to sort of piggyback off of what the Vice Mayor said, because yesterday was very important. I've been talking about this option of potentially trying to do a TIF split, and Vice Mayor was actually saying, look, if we maybe didn't go that big and we just took this little tiny sliver instead of doing a 70-30, maybe we go 90-10 and just start to step it back. And it wasn't, I just want to make sure that, so I want to thank, first of all, I want to thank you, Ms. McKenna, for explaining that, for changing that. When so my husband and I had a property next to each other. He owned both properties. And we wanted to split the property and allocate more to one property to sort of make them more even and make one more profitable, or able to sell it at a higher cost. We had to jump through those same hoops in terms of we had to go get surveys done, we had to get approval from the mortgage company. We had to jump through those hoops to do it. And in the end, it was something that the mortgage company, before we even got the official sign-off, said, there's enough equity here that this is not going to be a problem. And I feel like that's the same for our Northwest CRA area. I think, or the CRAs in general. I think we have enough equity in our CRAs at this point that a small split would probably not be a problem. But the second part that I do want to mention was something that I found a little bit unnerving, because at the time, Mr. Harrison jumped up and also used the opportunity to say that he wasn't going to spend any more time or let staff direct any more time, that he thought it was a dumb idea or something along those lines. So I took offense to that, because we're trying to, in the spirit of collaboration, find more money for communities and find more money for projects within our community. And I would like to continue that collaboration between all of us as much as possible. Thank you.
Very good. Ms. McKinnon?
Yes, let me just add to what I just said about, what we would need to do. In your ECRA, whatever you would do for the city as a taxing authority, you would have to do for the other two taxing authorities. So you would be reducing the amount of contribution that those two taxing authorities would be giving you, and you might, I don't know what the numbers would look like, but you might be giving up more than you would be gaining by doing the percentage reduction, and that would have to be something that's analyzed. And of course, from the bondholders' perspective, they would want to have an analysis of what the impact would be. So I throw that out there as another lift that would have to go into taking a look at whether or not it's an advisable direction.
Very good. Further discussion on the presentation? Seeing none, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, let's move on. Our regular agenda, item number 1 is a resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency appointing one banker, financier, or other management level representative of a financial institution or related industry professional to the Northwest CRA District Advisory Committee for a term of 2 years, said term to expire on July 15, 2027, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. I'll go ahead and nominate John Berger, District 5, the incumbent. Any further nominations for this item?
I'll go ahead and nominate Dominique Lewis.
Dominique Lewis, District 3. That's the only 2 names here, so, all right, nominations are closed. When your name is called, please indicate your selection, either John Berger, District 5, the incumbent, or Dominique Lewis, District 3. Let's go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fezzik.
Dominique Lewis.
Commissioner Perkins.
Dominique Lewis.
Commissioner Segerson-Eaton.
Berger.
Commissioner Smith.
John Berger.
Vice Mayor Fournier.
Dominique Lewis.
Mayor Harden.
John Berger. Very good. Item 2 is a resolution.
A resolution of the Pompano Beach Community Redevelopment Agency appointing one general contractor, developer, real estate professional, appraiser, or related industry professional to the Northwest CRA District Advisory Committee for a term of 2 years, said term to expire on July 15, 2027, providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second for discussion. I'll
Mayor-
go ahead and nominate Carrie Ann Worley, incumbent District 1.
Are there
Any further nominations?
additional applicants?
Yes, there
There were.
is. I wanted to, if I may.
Commissioner Perkins?
Yes, there is a young lady in my district that submitted her paperwork yesterday. She's a realtor. And I would like to postpone it to the next meeting so that we could review her application before voting.
Very good. That's a motion to postpone until that'll have to be our September meeting.
Yes, that's fine.
September CRA meeting?
Yes.
Seconded.
Yes.
Moved and second to postpone this item until our September CRA meeting. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Very good. Takes us up to additional audience to be heard. There should be none, correct?
No additional audience to be heard.
Very good. I'm sorry? I'm sorry. No, sir, I'm sorry. There's no discussion. Takes us up to reports. Mr. Tran.
I have no report, thank you.
Very good. Ms. McKenna.
I have no report.
Okay. Our next meeting date will be September 16th, 2025. Takes us up to CRA board members. Commissioner Fezzik.
Thank you. So on June 2nd, I asked for information about any properties purchased by the city or CRA in fiscal year 23, 24, and 25. I asked for including date of purchase, purchase price, real estate contract, and appraisals for each property, along with any other pertinent information. On June 4th, I received and read the records related to property acquisitions by the city and CRA. And I confirmed with Mr. Alfred that the request was complete July 8th. Since the city attorney is not present, and obviously Ms. McKenna, as a CRA attorney, you can probably answer this or provide clarification in writing as to how these property acquisitions were apparently made without appraisals, board approvals, and not potentially in accordance with applicable statutes. And I'd really like that clarification sent to myself and the entire board, ideally no later than the end of the week, please.
Ms.
I'm
McKenna?
happy to give that to you, but I can tell you right now, we're not required to do appraisals.
Okay.
166045, which is the statute in the Home Rule Powers Act, relates to municipalities. Under Chapter 163, that's how land acquisition for CRAs are governed, and we do not have to comply with 166045. And 166045 is just a public record statute. Basically, what it says is, if you want to take advantage of the public records exemption, then you have to get appraisals. But if you don't want to take advantage of keeping your purchase exempt, then you don't have to get appraisals. You just go with whatever your municipal process is. So it just doesn't apply. We don't have to do it.
So it would not apply to the city or the CRA, since this is a joint venture?
It would not apply to the city or the CRA because we're not taking advantage of the confidentiality of 119. So we would simply travel under our regular property acquisition process.
Okay. The reason I bring this up is because it's a serious dollar amount. And if previously these acquisitions were brought before the CRA board, the last time that one was, I believe, in September of last year. But in just last 2 years, the city and CRA spent over $10.7 million in property acquisitions. And one North Dixie Highway was $950,000, I believe, with no independent appraisals, which is fine if that's what it is. And the board wasn't even asked to approve it. Commissioner Perkins, I think there was another one, the property, I don't know, remember the store that was named, but it was $3.5 million on January of this year. Well, it ended up being, there's 3 properties associated with it.
It was just Saxon Wall, I think was.
617 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, Dr. Mary Drive, and then it was bundled with 321 Northeast 3rd Avenue. So that adds up to $3.5 million. So the reason why I'm curious about this is because we're asked to approve almost everything. And even though it's part of the project, obviously, I understand we have to acquire properties as part of the MDA, but some of these properties are purchased well over, multiple times over what they would appraise for or what their value would be, even fair market value. So I just really have a question as to why that was done that way and why it stopped as of November of last year coming to the CRA board. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Perkins.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to thank Broward Health for visiting the Northwest on Saturday for their health screening and the food baskets and their resources. It was very informative, and we would love to welcome them back with a few more people with the resources they had to offer. Also today, we had a very good ribbon cutting for the police substation on 27th in Collier City. It was very well attended. Now, I do understand that a substation is an extension of the main police station, and I know it's like a local hub. But what I like for BSO to consider is perhaps in that building, or if not in that building, which is down the street, McNair, if you can put something together where you can bring the Collier City people together and perhaps introduce them to the CERT classes or teach the community something about CPR. I'm thinking of things of how you at that substation can connect to the people. Even a fire extinguisher, I pulled mine the other day and didn't know how to use it. I mean, I just thought if I needed it, I could use it, but be surprised that the people don't know how to use it if there's an emergency. So these kind of things, public safety, that you can reach the community and connect with the community in that building if you choose, or just down the street at McNair to build that relationship, which would be great. Lastly, I wanted to mention, I did speak with Bill, the developer. We had a meeting. Well, we spoke over the telephone, and we were supposed to meet on Thursday. And I said to him, I just didn't feel it was time for, the two of us to sit at the table and talk because of the consultants and what is being done. So I was given a tape or video of a podcast, which your consultants with the new downtown were discussing in the podcast about Beverly Perkins wanting personal money. So I've never fought for anything in my life harder than I have for my community. My community, anything I ask for is for the people, the residents. So let that be very clear for those who's putting this podcast out about Beverly Perkins. So the other thing I said to the master developer is, it seems as though your consultants are being paid to go after Beverly Perkins. It seems as though that's their job, go after Beverly Perkins, and my job is totally different. My job is to help the residents get what the residents need in the community. That's my job, and that's my focus. But it seems as though your consultants are hired to go after Beverly. And I'm not comfortable with that. So the only way they can do a podcast about Commissioner Perkins is that they've been given permission to do it. Because if you tell them not to, they're not going to do it because they want to get paid. Makes sense to me. And I'm using myself, but some of these same people, some of your same consultants have gone after other commissioners up on the dais. And it's not a good look because of all the things that are happening behind the scenes. And then, like I said, when you sit here on the dais, you expect us to be in a different light. And we know what has happened behind the scenes. I said it before, and I'll say it again. I am not against the new downtown project. I want something out of that project for my district of District 4. That's all I've been saying, and I'm just asking for a little piece of the pie, and I haven't gotten that. That's it. So why make it so difficult with all the gossip? Anybody that wants to interview me, I'm open. I'm available. I had a talk show for 12 years. I know how to talk.
That's right, yeah.
So if you are continuing to let your staff or your consultants, which are representatives of this city, continue to badger and beat up on Beverly, how do you expect me to vote for this project? That's just not the way to do it. Anybody that wants to sit down and talk to me about anything, we can do it. I don't have an issue with that. The whole issue, the whole problem is communication. Because this one don't like that one, and that one don't like this one, and this one won't sit down with that one or whatever. I don't have time for that. I'm still focused on my district. The people are in need in my district. So why would I let you build a $2 billion project and the people all around it get absolutely nothing? They can't even afford to live there if it's market rate. But you have people advocating for it. I have to look out for my community. This is what I'm led to do, proud to do it. And I will continue to do it. I stand for the people, and I've made that very clear sitting here. So I just wanted that to be known. that I'm not against the project. If you work with me, you want to talk with me, you want to sit with me, you want to meet with me, I'm open. Everybody knows my phone number. Everybody knows how to reach me through email. Phone is better. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Commissioner Segerson-Eaton.
No report, thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Smith.
No report, just a quote. Since we're planning and budgeting. Planning is bringing the future into the present so that you can do something about it now. And that comes from Alan Lakin. And that's what we're doing.
Very good. Thank you. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple things. I'm hoping to get an update on the parking lot I've been discussing with City Manager and the CRA just north of Tiles of Pompano. Is there any update on that?
I understand that Public Works is getting some bids together.
So there will be an update soon?
There will be an update soon, yes.
Okay, thank you. And then we had also agreed as a commission to have a workshop on the downtown. What is and I asked at the last commission meeting for an update on when that would happen, and I didn't receive anything. So what is the update on the downtown workshop and the timing for that?
I can get back with you on that too. We're looking at some dates and making sure that there's availability of those that will be attending. So we'll get back with you on that.
Okay, because I've literally not heard a word about it from anyone since we made the motion to do that. And then lastly, I want to echo what Commissioner Perkins said. I don't know whose idea it is to have a strategy of insulting, attacking, and name-calling people up here. It's not real smart to me, but I'm not the one coming up with the strategy. We're just the ones watching it. It won't work from my perspective. I won't be bullied or name-called or somehow online shamed into doing the wrong thing. That's just not going to happen. So when I look at this Northwest CRA and I ask how many people has the Northwest CRA enriched over the last decade, and who are those people? The answer that I see is not the people in the neighborhoods. It's not the people in the community. It's certain landowners, certain consultants, certain people that are inside enough to know where the deals are and what the strategy is, but it's not the people of the Northwest. And if we're going to undertake this massive project, it is time for the project to reflect the needs of the community, the needs of the people, and to actually provide real wealth into the neighborhoods and into the people of the Northwest who have been funding the Northwest CRA for the last 30 plus years. So that's my comment. The consultants can feel free to say whatever you want. It doesn't bother me, but you're not going to change me by saying or doing anything, because what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. Thank you.
Very, very good.
Mayor?
Yes, Commissioner Perkins?
Excuse me, where's our city manager, our executive director?
I'm not sure. Mr. Tran's filling in.
Did he send us an email today saying he would be absent?
Don't know.
He was there this morning. Yes, he was there this morning. Yes. Okay.
Very good. Very good, thank you. Yeah, it was a great grand opening today out in Collier City for the BSO substation. Likewise, I was out at Mitchell Moore this past weekend, where Broward Health put on a huge display with a lot of other folks, not just Broward Health, but a lot of caregivers. It's great to see them engaged in our community the way they were, and it's a real shot in the arm for the city of Pompano Beach. And they will be back over the next 2 years, not to the extent that they were on this past Saturday. That was the kickoff, but yeah, it was a great event. Look forward to that in the future. And I too, I'm supportive of the downtown for the entire city, but especially the Northwest community, because I believe it's going to make such a difference in that area. I represent that area, and I've been on this commission for years, and I think it is high time we did something for that area, more than we have in the past. Now, I just want to, it's not often we get a letter from our advisory committee, but here's a letter from the East CRA Advisory Committee dated July 7th. to the commission. Dear Commissioners, on March 6, 2025, the ECRA Advisory Board prepared a formal letter to the City Commission and CRA Board in support of the Downtown Redevelopment Project, Master Development Agreement, as it had developed to that point. At the May 27, 2025 City Commission meeting, the Commission approved Ordinance 2025-49 on first reading by a 4-2 vote. The ordinance proposed using public financing instead of private financing to fund the civic use buildings required by the MDA. On June 5, 2025, the ECR Advisory Committee was briefed on the ordinance first reading approval and the upcoming second reading of the ordinance scheduled for June 10, 2025. No formal action was taken by the Advisory Committee at this time regarding financing. At the June 10, 2025 City Commission meeting, Ordinance 2025-49, proposing public financing in place of private financing for the civic buildings within the Downtown Redevelopment Project, failed to pass on second reading, resulting in a 3-3 tie vote. As a result, the ordinance was not adopted, and private financing remains the default mechanism to fulfill the city's financial obligations under the Master Development Agreement. During the ECR Advisory Committee meeting on July 3, 2025, members were informed of the ordinance's failure due to the tie vote. Following the discussion, the ECR Advisory Board unanimously passed the following motion, 8-0. With all due respect to the City Commission's authority, the ECR Advisory Board implores the City Commission to reconsider the public financing option, which is estimated to save taxpayers of Pompano Beach approximately $100 million over the life of the loan for the city's required obligations in the Master Development Agreement. The committee respectfully urges renewed consideration of this option in the interest of long-term fiscal responsibility and community benefit. The City Commission's consideration of this matter is greatly appreciated. Signed, the Chair of the ECR Advisory Committee. Just wanted to recognize their letter. That's it.
Who's the chair, Mayor? Who's the chair?
Paul Fisher. Very good. This meeting is adjourned.